Everything in the world, any information, any knowledge, anything you want to know is 6 keystrokes and 0.2 of a second away. Google, Yahoo, Bing. If you're in China, they only use 5, BAIDU. But anything you want to know as a customer or as a consumer is instantaneously available to you. And that's what the web is all about. So we've armed customers to the point that they can walk into a retail store, look at the price you have, punch in a few digits, and compare your prices and your offering with the people down the street immediately. So what we've done is we have armed the consumer. We've also given them these new media forms, primarily mobile. Mobile in their hand, walking around, watching basketball games, watching movies, doing anything they want to with a mobile system. And we've also given them what we like to call social media, which is really just a nice way of saying it's electronic word of mouth. People have been doing this for hundreds of years. The only thing we've done is we've now given them electronic systems where they don't talk to their neighbors across the back fence, nor do they talk to their neighbors in the coffee shop. They communicate with people all over the world. And so what we've done is we've just exploded all of this. The thing that happens, however, is the marketer keeps sending these things out this way, the customer goes around, and when the customer goes around, they talk to radically different people. They don't talk to marketing people. They don't talk to communication people. What they do is they talk to people on the outside. Oh, I don't have that slide in there. Okay. What they do is when they communicate, they don't talk to marketing people. They talk to customer service, none of whom report to marketing. They talk to technical support, none of whom report to marketing. They talk to employees who generally don't report to marketing. They talk to retailers who don't have anything to do with marketing. So we spend inordinate amounts of money trying to build these brand concepts only to see them dissipated by people who are no longer aligned and no longer involved. So what happens in all of this system is we have broken all of these things down to little bitty pieces and parts, and then tried to reassemble them. This is how consumers use the media. They use it holistically and dynamically. Our models, our approaches, and our methodologies are not dynamic. They do not change very often, and they certainly don't reflect a holistic view of the world. And part of that is because of the way we're organized and the way we're structured. Communication today has an extremely difficult task simply because of the organizational structures, not only of the client organizations, but of the agencies and the media and all the others. I argue, when I was here before, that in a push and pull system, media consumption, that is consumption by the customer, is more important than media distribution. Yet we don't measure consumption. What we do is we measure what we send out, not what people take in. We don't have good methods of understanding what media forms you're using. Those of you who are students, we will do a little assignment which will ask you to draw a media graph. That is, what media forms do you use during an average day? And it will be radically different for each and every one of you. Each of you has your own media system now. Each of you has decided, this is where I go to get what I need. This model has been around since 2004. Media consumption, that is, what's the consumer, the customer doing? Where are they going? What media are they accessing? How much time do they spend with them? And then are we creating fragmentation or are we creating potential synergy? This model was introduced at the SMR conference in 2004. Introduced the same year at the Advertising Research Foundation in the United States. 2 weeks ago, the Advertising Research Foundation announced that Nielsen and CBS Television had determined that age and sex had no influence on whether or not people accepted or used television advertising. Age and sex has been the common denominator for all media forms for the last 75 years. Now suddenly somebody says, maybe we ought to look at consumption, which they knew about in 2004. But nobody has done anything until last week or 2 weeks ago. All of that we had in a book that was published in 2009 called Media Generations. And the argument of media generations is relatively simple. The media forms you grew up with are the ones you maintain the rest of your life. If you started out as a digital native, you will be digital the rest of your life. If you started out as a digital immigrant, that is reading newspapers and watching TV and doing silly things like that, you will continue to do that. You may change slightly, but by and large, what you grew up with and what you developed as teenagers will be your media patterns for the rest of your life. Students in this course will be using this book that I just showed you. But since you're alumni, I'll discuss the next stage of media development tonight. Here's what I think is going to happen. I'm arguing that we live and operate in a CN squared marketplace. And the CN squared is very simple. It stands for customers, networks, and negotiation. Customers are the critical ingredient, not the marketers. Marketers don't have any money, only customers have money. Customers, you and all of your associates, friends, neighbors, all create your own networks. The marketer doesn't know what those networks are. So I really don't know how to talk to you because I don't know what media forms you're using because I've been measuring only distribution. And the other thing that is increasingly happening, and that is negotiation. Persuasion, in my view, is over. You are now in a position as a customer, as a consumer, to negotiate with a marketer in a way that you have never been able to do in the past. So everything is negotiated. Value is co-created. You don't go in and say, oh, I see that price and I'll pay it. You say, let me see if I can find that less expensively somewhere else. Let me see if I can't find something that's better. Let me see if I can't negotiate a better deal. What in essence we have is a world that marketers have never ever experienced before. Marketers don't know what to do. It is a radically different marketplace. We got to that CN squared concept very simply. We started looking at how did relationships and how were relationships between customers and marketers created and how were they developed and how did they operate. And we said in the first phase, this is really the middle of the 20th century. Marketers acquired relationships. They acquired relationships because they got them from retailers where they had distributed their products, or they acquired them through media forms. I sent messages out in media, and you essentially created a distance relationship with a brand and with a company. Or I acquired it from this retailer and distributor. That model looks like this. That is, the maker-seller with a marketing strategy, segmentation, product design, positioning, pricing, all the neat stuff that marketers like to do, sending out persuasive media, using distribution systems, and over here, customers we measured by attitudes, beliefs, feelings, intentions, and so on. Mostly attitudinal work.